A lot of people ask us what we do on an everyday basis. Well, after waking up the kids, we head out to chores. So this is a typical day in February, but it changes every day, and that's why we love it.
Time to put the horses back out before school. Lunch bag, backpack, 2 horses, ready for school. Packed up, going to school. Everybody say hi.
Hi.
You're not excited?
Oh, I like school.
All right.
As usual, I'm just starting my day relaxing with a cup of hot cocoa. And here beside me is little Kyla. Say hi, Kyla. Say hello. She's been a little sick with me, but she spends a little bit of time in her playpen, just kind of playing by herself. We're working on talking right now, so that's always fun. Boy, I tell you, with 6 kids, okay, so 5 that actually walk, the muddy boot saga is never ending around here. If I could change one thing about my house, I would add a mud room. Okay, well, I've used most of my energy to do a little bit of house cleaning this morning, so I'm gonna take a break from that. The next thing I've got to work on today is to try to play a little catch up in the garden. I've run a little behind with these viruses, but one of the things I do every winter is to actually look at the previous year's plans. I keep running notebooks with my information and my garden plans and a list of the types of seeds and such that I need. And then, of course, the seed catalogs. My 2 personal favorites being from Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds and Johnny's Selected Seeds. They've got a nice selection of organic varieties, as well as different supplies and tools for the garden itself. So I start working on those orders, and then the planning stages itself. This year we're doing an experiment called straw bale gardening. So this is a book I picked up over the winter. I've been studying that method, and we're going to do a little experimenting in our garden to see if we can get our brimweed under control. Brimweed is a nightmare here in central Illinois. There's a saying that brimweed around here will drive the most organic and passionate gardener to using some type of weed killer. We haven't gone that far yet, but I totally get it. This stuff just takes over everything, and you can't stay ahead of it. So we're going to try this straw bale garden. You'll see that in action a little later. And the idea is going to be to raise the garden above the level of the soil to give us a fighting chance at fighting the brimweed before it just takes everything over. So we'll see how that goes as the season goes on. But meanwhile, this has a great selection of information, details, and even a few plans to help you lay your garden out. So I'm excited to see how we can use that around here. Of course, ours is going to be on the bigger end. We're looking currently at around 100 bales that we'll be using because we do have a pretty sizable garden. And that will be actually mixed with our typical type of garden where we plant directly into the soil and use the horses to maintain it. So it'll be a fun season, and I'm interested to see how it all works out. The other thing I do is I go through my personal seed bank to see what's left over from the previous year. I've got a pretty decent variety of things that I did not use, at least not in its entirety. So once I get my seed count there, then I'm able to check off on my list what I need to order for this season. So that's what I'm going to work on today, and we'll get this garden going. Hello. Figured I'd come show everybody what you do on a normal day.
Well, just trying to get some walnut cut here. And it's kind of hard when you're by yourself and you got several thousand pounds of log to move around, but it is a beautiful day.
How many logs are you planning to cut today?
What's that?
How many logs are you planning on doing today?
I'm just going to do these two. I'm going to do this walnut, and then I got to do the oak so I can finish up the shed over there.
So we may have a shed by the end of the day.
But this particular log I'm quarter sawing, which is a lot different than plain sawing, and it takes a lot longer because I cut the log into 3 equal pieces, and then I rotate the log and cut so that the grain is 90 degrees to the face of the board, and that's what quarter sawing is. So to try to get that grain 90 degrees, basically 80 to 90 degrees to the face, you got to move the boards around a lot, so it's a lot more work than plain sawing.
What's the purpose?
It's a more stable wood. It doesn't warp and cup and twist and stuff. It's much better for furniture, and since this is walnut, it's probably best for furniture and not building chicken coops. So I want to make sure we got really good wood here.
Well, it's almost kidding season, so we're going to take a walk out here. I have to do that about a couple times a week, I guess, this time of year. And I check the goats for signs of impending labor. Some years we know within a couple of days when they're due, but this year we actually kind of gave our buck free rein and we're not sure when most of them are due, so I just check. Have a little technique we use, I'll show you as I go. Girls. Oh. So with does, you can see this girl's pretty heavy with kid. You can feel one right there. They actually have a pair of ligaments on either side of their spine, and the ligaments begin to relax shortly before they deliver, usually about a week or 2 out. When the ligaments almost entirely disappear and I can't find them anymore, I know that labor is generally within about 24 hours. So as long as I check a couple times a week, there's rarely any surprises. This girl is getting very close. She's one of the few that we did actually catch her being bred, and we have her on the calendar as due next week. So she may go a little sooner because her ligaments are just about gone there. They've relaxed down to almost nothing, so we'll have to keep an eye on her. Hi, girl. Let's do a quick check. That girl's probably got a couple weeks yet. Are pretty much gone.
Joys are gone.
About. Okay, so once I can't feel the ligaments anymore, then I check the udder itself, because they tend to fill up with milk right before, usually about within 24 hours. And then I also check their backside because it tends to relax, and there's certain signs I can see, I've just learned over time, that show signs of impending delivery. So we've got a couple of these girls getting close. So no doubt kidding season is right around the corner. Got a couple more goats up the hill here I'm gonna go check. And there's old Bucky.
You want to check Bucky?
I don't think so.
See if
ready
Bucky's
for
gonna.
fatherhood. No ligaments needed.
All right, Bucky. Say bye.
Well, we've come out to the Wallapini to kind of see what the status is. In the January, February months, I'm not out here a whole lot except for the occasional harvest of something for a meal. We only water about once a month that time of year because it's not warm enough to cause a lot of evaporation. So while we're busy with other winter tasks, the Wallapini just sort of goes by the wayside and becomes a forgotten entity on the farm. So here we are at the end of February, definitely in need of some servicing. I can see here I've got a bit of an aphid problem going on. Now, I've kind of learned over the years, interestingly enough, aphids seem to prefer rutabaga. So one thing I do is plant rutabaga throughout my Wallapini as a form of a trap crop. So that way I can tell how bad the aphid problem is, and they tend to congregate on the rutabaga, which I can then collect and just either discard or cut the root off and use it for a meal. But meanwhile, the aphids are not bothering my other plants, which makes the cleanup of those plants a lot easier at a mealtime. Now this is younger chard that is still perfectly edible. We're using it on sandwiches currently. I've got a couple of brassicas here that have bolted. They're about to go to seed, so we'll just pull those out, discard them. We're still cleaning up some remnants. I'll harvest these beets today. My husband and kids have been begging for fermented beets. We haven't had any a couple months, so they're eager to get some of those. So these will all be pulled out today. You can see I've got some purple cabbage back here. This will actually take off and grow now that the weather has warmed up, so we'll be leaving those. But kind of grow through here. There's really just a lot of general cleanup. We need to reset some traps. I've got a problem with voles in here, so we'll get some traps going, and we want to try to get control of the vole population before I get seedlings going again. Let's see. Oh, we've got some nice carrots left. Look at that. Maybe not beautiful root, but certainly edible and sweet this time of year. After a good cold snap, you can almost see how orange and shiny that is. Very, very sweet at the end of winter. All those carbs have kind of gone down in there to store, and it just makes an incredible carrot. So there we go. Kids will be thrilled to have a little snack once I harvest a few of those. Here's some different herbs I planted. Got a red carrot there. Yeah, that one got stunted a bit, but you can see it's got a bit of a red top. It just didn't mature properly. Now these were beans that we actually harvested up until, I believe it was early December. Obviously they finally died out when it got cold enough, so we'll clean all that up. My pomegranate is shedding its leaves for the winter, and it's going to come back and just explode with new growth. Although interestingly, you do have a flower or two there, so these things try their best to thrive. Let's see what else we got here. Citrus trees are just kind of hanging on. This is old chard. We'll get rid of that. Now this was a garden I planted in mid-fall to try to really start us off right in the new season. It's just now taking off. So we've got a few different radish varieties in here. They're just starting to grow. Now these don't tend to grow as well as things planted this time of year because they kind of go into a dormant period over the winter, and then when they wake up, they think it's time to bolt. So they don't usually last as long, but sometimes it gets us through the dry spell. We've got some greens, just lettuces, different variety. I believe I planted buttercup lettuce here. So that'll be good. We can cut a little bit of that for sandwiches. There's not a whole lot. This is just a mixed leaf lettuce variety. We can kind of mix it with the other lettuces, but you can see there's No real aphid problem on this. There's a few of them, but most of those aphids drift toward those rutabagas, so it's not a problem on these. Gives them a fighting chance.
You got your little beer cups there.
Yes, okay, so another problem we've had in the Wallapini is pill bugs and sow bugs. Most people collectively know them as roly-polies, and they absolutely love to eat my brand new seedlings. They eat the tender stems, and they can decimate a crop overnight. I've had a big problem, and obviously we don't want to use chemicals in the Wallapini, so after some research, we discovered they love beer. They actually get drunk on the beer, fall in, and drown. So it's a good treatment for the roly-polies, for slugs, for snails, and even for the sugar ants that come along and like to move around with the aphids. So I need to obviously refill these. They dried up over the winter, but before they all start hatching and becoming active again in this warmer weather, we're going to get these cups refilled and be ready for them. Prevention. So folks occasionally ask me how we do all this with a baby in tow. For those of you who know our story, this baby was a bit of an unexpected surprise, to say the least. And we very quickly had to learn how to adapt our life to just kind of make things work. And, you know, by child number 6, I think that's really the story with anybody. You just kind of make having a baby work into your lifestyle, whatever that is. And in our case, we're blessed to have a way to just kind of have her tag along with us in most of our duties. To do is waste. You've seen me as I cleaned out the Wallapini. I basically am throwing all the trash on the floor, but even trash plants here have value. So what I'm going to do here in a bit is go through and collect all this stuff I threw out, and as long as it's not a toxic item, which generally I don't grow toxic items like nightshades in the Wallapini, most of this makes excellent animal forage. So we'll take this and divide it up between our chickens, our ducks, our goats, and even our horses, and let them kind of nibble on a late winter snack of fresh greens. It's loaded with vitamin A, excellent for the upcoming kidding season, and everybody enjoys a nice fresh treat from the Wallapini. So helps us keep our waste down, recycle, reuse, and anything that's not eaten is just added to the compost. After 2 weeks of a nasty virus, I think I'm going to overdo it if I keep this up. So I'm going to take my harvest inside and probably let the kids come out later and work on cleaning the floor up for me while I go in, spend some quality time with the baby, and then see if I can talk Sean into coming to add some fresh compost to the Wallapini to get it ready for planting. Looks like Sean's having a little issue there. I think his trailer popped off of the golf cart. Not sure how that happened. Did you lose your trailer?
Yeah, things don't always go as planned. It's a little heavy for that little trailer, but since I didn't want to hitch the horses today, I thought I'd use the golf cart. Obviously, the horses are a lot better at moving wood than golf carts are. So, just trying to throw it up inside the barn. I stack it up there to dry it out. So, well, it's lunchtime here, and it's the end of February, so I was in the basement yesterday in the larder trying to pick through the last remnants of our harvest from last year. And sometimes it gets a little slim pickings, but other times we make some of our favorite dishes. Kyla right now is eating our butternut squash soup, and that's with our butternut squash, fresh milk, and leeks. You have leeks in there too, right?
Dehydrated.
Yeah, dehydrated leeks from the garden. That stuff is probably the kids' favorite. In fact, we make like 2 gallons of it, and it's gone in a single meal. I'm actually picking through some spaghetti squash. Those things, it's unbelievable how well they keep. When you go through all the other produce and stuff, and you see rot and things like that, you pick out their spaghetti squash, they look like the day you picked them. This stuff is great. We love it. And then, of course, we got cornbread. Some of our pickles, we're getting down to the last few jars of pickles, so our cucumbers are coming to the end. And right now, what's that?
The marinara sauce is from the garden.
Oh, that's right. We canned some marinara sauce, and we've got quite a few jars of that left. But right now, the Wallapini is really our only hope for fresh produce, and we're going to start cleaning that up soon and getting plants in. So it's really this March, April time frame that we finish up everything from the basement and we transition out to fresh vegetables and fruits again. So that's what it's like here at Redgate Farm, and that's what it's like to try to be self-sufficient. What?
Dig in.
Yeah, dig in.
I'm gonna wash up these carrots real quick. One of the big advantages of raising kids on a farm is they tend to grow up appreciating the work that goes into growing food, and they have an appreciation for healthy food for the most part. That's not to say they don't occasionally bring home candy or something from school, which is a new challenge we faced this year since we decided to try the whole school thing. But I can't complain too much because they do still eat their vegetables. And these sweet carrots are going to be a real treat for them. And all the green tops are going to be a treat for the goats. Definitely get some funny looking carrots when you grow your own. They're not all those perfect, sleek, cone-shaped carrots. But on occasion I do get some nice ones. So when I do, I tend to actually put those away for my use because they're a lot easier to slice and such for a stew when I make it. So I'll put those away. We've got lots of treats for the critters, lots of treats for the kids. I think I'm going to add in some beef sticks we get from our local processor. We used to raise our own beef and we fell in love with these naturally cured sticks. They're just a great snack for the kids. But we don't actually raise our own beef anymore. We get it from a good Amish friend who does a much better job raising cattle than we do. He's got a lot more space. So we get the beef from him, we have it processed our way, and that way we know exactly where it comes from, and the kids still get fun, healthy snacks every day after school. All right, we're gonna take all these greens now and head out toward the goats. And we'll take Kyla with us, mainly because I don't think I have a choice. She finally conked out on my back. Tends to happen when you wear a baby. They just fall asleep as they hang around. So we're going to walk outside, give the goats a taste of what's to come from the Wallapini, and you get to see how much they enjoy it. Goats, look what I got. I got some carrot tops for you. You like that? Oh, yeah. Here. Here you go, Bucky. How about that? You guys like your carrot tops, don't you?
What's up?
Just checking in on you.
Keep invading me over here. You checking to make sure I'm working?
Yeah, well, I need an excuse to, rest.
Now you got a baby on your back.
Yep.
Alright, here's a scrap piece. Some of these logs have bark on the edge, but I just cut them anyway because I can slim them down to 2-inch or whatever I need, but I do that later. Do that after it's all dried. These are 1.25-inch boards, and when I plane them down, they'll be 1-inch boards, 1-inch walnut. They'll be used for shelves or a desk or whatever. Can't see the grain because it's all messy, but see, I'll cut the whole board even though this is in here, so this particular piece I'll cut probably a good 5-inch, 4-inch section out of it and get it good, and in the middle section I'll get the entire board, so a little sloppy today. It's starting to thaw up out here.
Well, I got a bunch of fresh carrots. I'm gonna go sit the kids up a snack.
Did you pull the beets?
Yeah, ready for
Time for fermented beets. So Danielle crawled out from her sick stupor to come help today. That didn't work so well. She's on her deathbed now.
I tried. What can I say?
Wave goodbye to the world.
Have fun.
I heard they stole a hearse in LA and it had a body in it, so if we find it, maybe we could just transfer your body into it.
I might get a good night's sleep that way.
You're going out of focus. She's sitting by the fire. Good night.
Good night.
It's short time. Heading to the barn. Michaela's not here, so. And Nathan's having a laughing fit. That's kind of normal. Snowball fight. All right, boys, dogs, puppies and adult dogs. We'll get some water back there. Ruthie, get the mineral in the ice stalls. What's going on here? That's normal. This is dangerous. He's armed. He's armed. Can you hit him from that far? Oh, missed! Missed! Oh, this is all out.
Oh, there. Not me, please.
Picking up, hey, don't mess with the onions. Let's get the floor cleaned up, guys. Everything off the floor. Pick up the piles. No, we'll leave that there. Took all the wall of peony waste, put it out here for the goats. It's a feast. A little chard, a little cilantro. We got some rutabagas in there, I think. Yep, they'll pick through, see what they like. Nothing goes to waste here at Reggaeton Farm.
not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth.
Okay, so what does that mean? What were you going to say?
I was going to say, don't just say, I love you. You gotta mean it in your heart.
That's right. When you say I love you got to mean it in your heart. And if you just get up every night, oh, I love you, I love you, I love you, it becomes rote. In other words, you say it without meaning it. Yeah. So if you really love somebody, get up and make hot cocoa for them, right, Mom?
Amen.
Mwah.
Give a kiss. Mwah. Mwah.
You like it?
Are you having fun, Kyla?
Trying to finish up the beets that we picked in the jalapeno today. I will just peel them. I will clean them. And then I've got some brine here. This is a saltwater solution. It's a brine that I put them in. They will sit there with this little burp lid. This allows the gases to escape. And this will weight it down. Keep it under the brine. If you're under the brine, you're fine, is what they always say. Then it will sit on a counter there in my stairwell for about 3 weeks. This will be done about the end of March. And the kids will go crazy over my pickled beets. And behind me, I've got a pot of sap boiling for some walnut syrup and some walnut jelly. So once again, we spend our days outside, and the evenings we're usually preparing food. So end of February here, beginning of March, and we're still harvesting food and preparing it. Because really the toughest time to eat is March and April, because the stuff that's planted in the spring is not quite ready yet, and the larder downstairs is running out of food. So we're pretty diligent at this time to make use of every single bit of carbohydrate and protein and whatever we've got on the farm here. And this is how we do it.
Yeah.
So this is one of our garlics. At the end of the season, they start to sprout down there, so we got to use them up. We've already planted the garlic. Back in November, we planted the garlic for next year. So we're going to try to clean this garlic up and use it up. And I'll put it in the fermented beets. It gives it a great flavor. There it is. Beets and garlic. It's great.
Well, I finally crawled off my recliner. As much as I would love to go crawl into my bed, I had just enough energy to put the baby down, and unfortunately our day is not over yet. It's almost 9 o'clock, and it's finally time to pick up Michaela from her volleyball game. So I'll be back in a little bit.
We've also got about 12 gallons of sap there to get on the heat. It's a never-ending day here.
Hello, hello. Hi, Rosa. Hello.
I found her. Hi, girl. She's finally home.